I sat on the couch, staring at the clock as the numbers changed, glowing softly in the dark.
4:12 nachts.
Stephanie still wasn't home. She had told me she was picking up extra shifts at the hospital. Night shifts were nothing new for her, but something felt different lately. She'd been distant, her phone glued to her hand, laughter in her voice when she texted someone, but never me. I wanted to believe it was just stress, long hours, exhaustion. I tried to shake off the unease gnawing at my gut. But then came the little things. Her scrubs, which used to smell like antiseptic and coffee, now carried traces of cologne that didn't belong to me. Her phone, once left charging on the nightstand, was now password-locked and always in her pocket. She used to call me on her breaks. Now, just the occasional busy. Love you. I wanted to trust her. God, I needed to trust her. But something wasn't right. And tonight, that feeling only grew stronger. I tried to sleep, but my mind kept running through everything. The missed calls, the hushed conversations, the fact that she hadn't kissed me goodbye before leaving tonight, like she always did. So I waited.
4:37 nachts.
The sound of the garage door jolted me upright. Stephanie was home. I stayed on the couch, feigning sleep as I listened to her footsteps. The door creaked open, and she stepped inside, moving cautiously, as if hoping not to wake me. She lingered near the entryway before heading straight to the bathroom. The shower turned on. I sat up, my chest tight with the weight of uncertainty. And then, as I stood to stretch, something caught my eye, her work bag, carelessly placed on the dining table. She never left it there. I told myself not to, told myself I was just being paranoid. But my hands moved on their own. I unzipped the bag, and what I found inside made my stomach drop. My hands trembled as I reached inside her work bag, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break through my ribs. I expected to find her usual things, maybe some hospital paperwork, a stethoscope, a half-eaten protein bar. Instead, my fingers brushed against something smooth. An envelope. A sealed envelope. I swallowed hard. This wasn't normal. Stephanie never carried around random envelopes. My gut told me that whatever was inside would change everything. The sound of the shower running in the background felt distant as I carefully tore it open. And then, my world stopped. Inside was a hotel keycard, along with a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it, my vision blurring as I read the short, hastily scrawled note. Last night was unforgettable. Same time next week? Can't wait. J. I sat there, gripping the note so tightly it crumpled in my hand. J. The name hit me like a freight train. Jason, my best friend. I felt sick. A cold sweat broke out across my skin as reality crashed over me. My wife, the woman I had built a life with, the person I had trusted more than anyone else, sneaking around behind my back with him. How long? How many nights had she told me she was working late, while she was actually with him? I tried to breathe, but it felt like the walls were closing in. The betrayal stung like an open wound, and the worst part? I had been blind to it. The shower turned off. I heard the rustling of a towel, the soft creak of the bathroom door opening. Stephanie stepped out, steam trailing behind her. Her damp hair clung to her shoulders, and she froze when she saw me. Sitting at the table, the note in my hand, her bag wide open. For the first time in years, she looked afraid. Care to explain this? I asked, my voice deadly calm. Her eyes flicked to the note, her mouth opening and closing like she was struggling for an excuse. Then, just like that, her expression changed. She smiled. A slow, knowing, almost taunting smile. And that's when I realized she wasn't sorry. She had never been sorry. I stared at her, my fingers still gripping the crumpled note. My heart was hammering in my chest, but my face? Cold, expressionless. She took a slow step forward, still wrapped in her towel, still smiling like this was some kind of joke. You went through my bag? She said, tilting her head. That's a little invasive, don't you think? I almost laughed. Invasive? That's what she was worried about? I held up the note, my fingers shaking. This is what you have a problem with? Not the fact that I just found out my wife has been screwing my best friend. Her expression didn't change.
No panic. No guilt.
Just that same infuriating smirk, like she was in control. Like she had already thought through every possible way to spin this. I don't know what you think that means, she said with a shrug. Jason and I met up for drinks after my shift last week. It was innocent. Lies. I could hear them dripping from her lips like poison. I took the hotel keycard and slid it across the table toward her. Explain this, then. A flicker of something close to annoyance, crossed her face. But she recovered quickly. Jason got a room because he was too drunk to drive home, she said smoothly. I helped him check in. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. And this note? Last night was unforgettable? She hesitated. For just a second. Just long enough to confirm what I already knew. Then she scoffed. Oh my God. Are you really being this paranoid? It's just a joke. Jason likes to mess around, you know that. He probably left it in my bag to mess with me. My stomach turned. She was good. Too good. If I hadn't just spent the last few weeks watching her pull away, if I hadn't already noticed the signs, the secrecy, the coldness, the shift in her routine, I might have believed her. But not now. Not after seeing the way she had smiled when she walked out of that bathroom. She wanted me to doubt myself. I felt my fingers curl into fists. You really expect me to believe that? She rolled her eyes and dropped the towel, walking past me like she couldn't care less. I expect you to stop acting like a jealous psycho, she muttered, pulling a shirt over her head. Jealous psycho, right? Because I was the problem here. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the anger boiling inside me. Just answer one thing for me, I said, my voice quieter now. Are you sleeping with him? Silence. She didn't turn around, didn't answer right away. Instead, she adjusted her shirt, ran a hand through her wet hair, and finally looked at me over her shoulder. And then she said the one thing that shattered whatever was left of my sanity. Would it really matter if I was? Her words hit me harder than I expected. I thought I was prepared. I thought nothing she could say would make this worse. But that casual, indifferent response? It was a knife straight through my chest. I let out a shaky breath, my grip tightening on the note. Would it really matter? I repeated, my voice eerily calm. Stephanie turned to fully face me now, arms crossed over her chest. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't apologizing. She was testing me, trying to see how much she could push before I broke. And that's when I finally, fully understood something. She had stopped loving me a long time ago. She wasn't sorry because, in her mind, she had already moved on. I just hadn't realized it yet. I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded slowly. Got it. She arched an eyebrow. Got what? I stood up, the chair scraping against the floor as I backed away from the table. Everything I need to know. Her lips parted, like she was about to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked past her, past the bathroom where steam still clung to the mirror, past the wedding photo on the hallway wall that suddenly felt like a cruel joke. I stopped at the bedroom door. If you want to be with Jason, I said without turning around, go be with him. But don't think for a second that you'll get to play the victim when this blows up in your face. Silence. Then a scoff. Oh, for God's sake, stop being dramatic. Dramatic. I gritted my teeth. She still didn't get it. She still thought she had the upper hand. Fine. Let her think that. For now. I grabbed my phone, my keys, and one last deep breath before stepping out of the house. Because if she thought this was the end of it, she had no idea what was coming. I drove around for hours, aimlessly at first, trying to process everything. The betrayal, the lies, the sheer audacity of how easily she had brushed it off, like I was some kind of nuisance instead of her husband. At some point, I pulled into an empty parking lot and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wasn't the type to lash out. I wasn't going to scream, break things, or beg her for the truth she had already silently confirmed. No, I wanted something better than that. Something that would actually stick. And I knew exactly how to do it. I opened my phone and scrolled down to Jason's contact, my supposed best friend. The guy who had stood beside me at my wedding, grinning like he actually gave a damn about my happiness. I took a breath, then hit dial. He picked up on the third ring, his voice groggy. Yo, man, what's up? I forced my tone to stay light. Hey, Jason. You busy? Nah, just crashed a couple hours ago. Long day. Long night, more like. I clenched my jaw but kept my voice casual. Listen. I need some advice, and you're the only person I can trust with this. That was a lie, of course. But I needed him to feel safe, to walk right into the trap. Jason chuckled. Of course, man. You know I got you. What's up? I hesitated just long enough to make it sound real. It's about Stephanie. Silence. Then a carefully neutral, oh. I let out a fake, frustrated sigh. I think she's cheating on me. He inhaled sharply. Dude, are you serious? Yeah, I said, leaning into the act. She's been acting weird, working late all the time, guarding her phone. She came home tonight and left her work bag out. And I don't know, man. I went through it. Jason made a sound, like he was debating how to respond. What did you find? He asked, his voice careful. I exhaled slowly. An envelope, a hotel keycard, a note from some guy. Silence. A long, long silence. I could almost hear him thinking. *T, he finally muttered. That's damn, dude. That's rough. I swallowed back the anger rising in my throat. Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't know for sure. The note wasn't signed with a full name, just an initial. G. Another pause. I imagined him sitting there in his dark apartment, trying to figure out if I knew. If I was calling him because I had proof, or because I was desperate for reassurance. J, he repeated slowly. Could be anyone, right? There it was. The first real crack. I almost smiled. Exactly, I said. And that's why I need your help. I need to figure out who she's been seeing. Jason cleared his throat. Yeah, man. Of course. What do you need? I let out a fake, bitter laugh. Well, I figured maybe you could come over tomorrow night. Help me go through some of her stuff while she's at work. See if I missed anything. Jason hesitated. Then slowly, Yeah, I can do that. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Appreciate it, bro, means a lot. No problem, man. I could hear the relief in his voice now. He thought he was safe, that I was too blind to put the pieces together, that tomorrow night he'd have the chance to cover his tracks. He had no idea he was walking straight into his own execution. The next day was a test of patience. I went through the motions, woke up, had coffee, even exchanged a few words with Stephanie before she left for work. She acted like nothing had happened, like our conversation last night had never existed. She even kissed me on the cheek before leaving. That was almost the worst part, but I played my role perfectly.
No anger, no confrontation.
Just a husband trying to keep his head together. In reality, I was counting down the hours until Jason walked into my house, completely unaware of what I had planned for him. By the time evening rolled around, I had set everything up. Jason would arrive thinking he was helping me investigate my wife. What he didn't know was that I had already done my own digging. While Stephanie was in the shower the night before, I had gone beyond just the note and the keycard. I had gone through her phone. She thought she was smart keeping it locked. But what she didn't know was that I had memorized her passcode months ago, back when I still trusted her. And what I found? Texts. Hundreds of them. Stephanie. Can't wait to see you tonight. Jason. Wish I could have you all to myself. Stephanie, he suspects something. I think I threw him off last night. Jason. Don't worry. He won't find out. That one made me laugh. But it was the pictures that sealed it. Her. In a hotel bed, wearing nothing but his dress shirt. Jason standing in front of the mirror, taking the picture himself. Arrogant, reckless, and so easy to destroy. At 8 p.m. sharp, there was a knock on my door. Showtime. I pulled the door open, plastering on the best exhausted, desperate look I could manage. Jason stood there, hands stuffed in his pockets, his expression carefully neutral. "Hey man," he said. "You holding up okay?" If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed he actually cared. "Trying," I muttered, stepping aside. "Come in." He walked inside, looking around like he expected Stephanie to pop out at any second. I locked the door behind him. Then, with a casual shrug, I said, "Before we start, grab a beer?" Jason hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, sure." I led him to the kitchen, where 2 bottles were already waiting on the counter. One for him, one for me, except only one of them mattered. He twisted the cap off his bottle and took a long sip. I watched, waited, and then, after about 20 seconds, I saw it. The slight furrow in his brow. The way his throat bobbed as he swallowed again. Like something wasn't quite right. He looked at me. "Weird aftertaste in this? Or is it just me?" I smiled. "Just you." Because what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that his beer had been laced with just enough of a mild sedative to make sure he stayed exactly where I needed him. Awake, aware, but helpless. And by the time he figured that out, it would already be too late. Jason blinked, his hand tightening around the beer bottle as he swayed slightly. He frowned, then set it down on the counter. "Damn," he muttered, rubbing his temple. "I feel weird." I tilted my head, feigning concern. "Weird how?" His breathing quickened. He tried to push off the counter, but his legs weren't cooperating. I could see the realization flicker in his eyes. Something was wrong. "Did you?" His voice wavered. "What the hell did you do?" I leaned in, lowering my voice just enough to let him feel the shift. The power shift. "You know," I said, tapping my fingers against the counter, "it's funny. Last night, when I found that hotel key and your little love note, I wasn't sure what to do. Do I confront you? Do I just walk away?" Jason gritted his teeth, gripping the edge of the counter for balance. His breath was coming in shallow gasps now. I gave him a cold smile. Then I realized you don't deserve a confrontation. You deserve something worse. He pushed himself upright, but his knees buckled, and he barely caught himself against the fridge. "You son of a..." I stepped closer, watching as he struggled against the weight in his limbs. "Relax. You're not dying. Just feeling vulnerable. Kind of like how I felt when I realized my wife was sneaking around behind my back." Jason's eyes darted toward the door. He knew he couldn't make it. Good. He tried to speak, but his tongue was sluggish. I grabbed his collar, forcing him to look at me. "You took something from me?" I said, my voice calm. "Something I can never get back. So now, I take something from you." His body sagged. He wasn't unconscious, but he couldn't move, couldn't fight, could only watch as I pulled out my phone and started recording. For the next hour, Jason experienced what it felt like to lose control. I asked him questions, pointed, direct questions about Stephanie, about their affair, the hotels, the lies, the betrayal, and he answered, because he had no choice. Every denial, every excuse, I met with a simple response. "Tell me the truth, Jason. I already know." And slowly, under the weight of guilt, fear, and whatever was left of his pathetic conscience, he cracked. He confessed. Every detail, every disgusting, degrading thing he and Stephanie had done behind my back. I made sure the camera caught everything. When I was done, I ended the recording, tucked my phone into my pocket, and crouched down beside him. "You know," I mused, "Stephanie always told me you were a bad liar. Guess she was right." Jason let out a slurred curse, his body still too weak to do anything. I stood up and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, buddy.